Well, hi, Jen. It's been a while since we've done this. Welcome back,
Yes,
right? Another
welcome
season
back.
in Life Beyond the Clouds. And we really want to change things up this year. It was a really great year last year. And, you can just see how the messages are helping people. And, I know you work so hard behind the scenes. I hope people understand that. We really want to have people on hospice nurses, EMTs, anyone that's had any spiritual experience, whether they want to share it with us or whether they want us to try to help them to explain maybe what it is that they have, because this is what the journey in life is. And Jen, like I say, it's not always about what we're receiving. Sometimes we're the angel in somebody else's life, right? Sometimes
Yes.
we're put too. We kind of mistake that if it's not given to us, it's not a spiritual experience. Oh my gosh, no, like you can be put in somebody else's life because you are the spiritual experience that somebody else. Like I was telling you about my mother and when she fell on Friday. My phone kept going off like 3 times and it, comes up now looking like spam. And then I'm like, this is something. They keep calling. And my mother had fallen. Thank God she's okay. But she was very injured, broke her eye bone and broke her sinus bone, and her head was cut wide open. And, I'd send you the pictures later on the day with you being a nurse. But this gentleman called me. His name was Steve. And I hope that if this ever gets to him, and he just called me and just said, I'm with your mother and she fell and she's hurt pretty badly. And he just said, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay with her. I'm not going to leave. And I could hear her in the background saying, is that my daughter? And this kind man just said, I promise you. And he stayed with her. And he kept his hand like on her head, behind her head, waiting for the EMTs. It was like about 6 minutes. It felt like 20 to me, when you're scared, but it's just unbelievable. And I kept saying to him, God bless you. God bless you. You have no idea what you've done for me and for my mother. Like, you are a true angel. And he was just so shocked, like, that I said that. He's just like, no, I'd want somebody to do this for my mother. And it was so kind and loving. And I always just think, we don't understand that sometimes we're somebody else's gift.
That's
You know,
it's very true. We have people that walk around all the time that are doing the divine work,
yes,
and we
yes.
just sometimes we think it's going to be this big grand show, but sometimes it's just somebody that shows up
And they show
and
up.
does a kind act. And like this gentleman, Steve, that helped your mom. And yes, bless him, because that's an amazing thing. And a lot of people would just walk away from that.
They would have.
They see something, they're like, oh, I don't want to be involved in it.
Yes,
And he
yes,
didn't. He chose to stay. He chose to
yes,
help her. He called you to comfort her. I mean,
yes. It was
that's an
beautiful.
extra
It was
step.
beautiful. Yes. And he kept making me be reassured at the same time, too, not just her. He's like, what I mean? Like, I promise you I'll stay with her. And I was just like, I kept saying to him, God bless you. You have no idea. Because today people walk by, they videotape it, right? They stare, they don't do it. And for somebody to take that step, you understand? And to stay there with her. And even my mother now just keeps talking about it, that kind man. And I just keep sending him so much love every day. And I keep hoping he feels it and gets it, because it's just an amazing thing. So this season, we really want to start having people on, honestly, with spiritual experiences, because if we would understand in our everyday life, just like for that example, right? And you deal with it every day in your life, but just that example, about sharing your kindness and sharing what you've shared and being put in the right place. I don't think people understand how the divine works. I always say divine timing is everything. When we don't get things when we want, I always just say, because it's not the right time. It's not that it's not going to happen, just not right now. So even with this, when we're in the right place at the right time, that man was divinely guided to be there that day. That was no accident. We think that we're just randomly there. These are no accidents. God puts you in places, when he wants you to do his work also. And I just think it's so important for people to understand. And I just read this message too from this lovely lady this morning that reached out, with what we do every day with our messages. And she just said, I'm finally starting to trust you. I've been watching you, with your messages every day. And thank you. And I thought, oh my gosh, right again. You did the same thing. You put your hand on your heart. And it's like, Jen, we don't ask for anything. We're not selling anything. We just want people to love and trust themselves, and that built-into intuition that we all have and that we're given. If we can get one person to say, I trust just what I learned and I listened to my higher self and it guided me to the right place, or to get away from something, that's what we're trying to do. That's what we want to do with this, is to have people understand everything you have, you were built in with, you came in with it from heaven, and that's why the more people share their experiences, they go, oh my gosh, it happens to me too. Like, it's not just you and you, I have it. And we want this for everyone, Jen. This is what's so important.
No, I agree 100%. Sometimes you don't know how much your story can help somebody else, even when they're not ready to share their own. You sharing your experience, they're like, this is happening to me, or this is similar to what's happened to me. I wonder if I can ask questions. And I think that we are building something where people are starting to understand it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to talk about it, because everybody is experiencing this, whether they've realized it yet or not. It's some people are okay with talking about it and others not quite yet. But I think the more it's talked about, the more it's going to become easier for people to share what they've gone through or some things they've experienced. Just that when we say, oh, that gut feeling, it's not, that's your intuition, your higher powers. Like it's guiding you. You just know, you just kind of know. And even for me, like early on, before I focused in on this and really wanted to know what was happening and really connect. There would be times in my life where I'd go into somewhere and I'd be like, this feels awful. Like I did not want to be there. I felt I had a bad feeling about it when walking in. And it wasn't a feeling that I had prior to opening that door, just walking in, felt bad. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be here. And everyone's like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And I was like, no, something feels off. And then there was a fight that like broke out literally right next to the table. It was like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and finish this drink and go ahead and leave because I was like I said, it felt off. It didn't feel right to like be in there.
And that's what's so amazing when we call it and being intuitive. I think people have such a misperception. Like they want to put like some of this in a box when every day on their life, they're driving to work saying, I hope I get this job. I hope I get there on time. I hope this works out today. I hope my boss is nice to me. I hope like we do this all day long and we ask for things and we're going, I'm always going, well, who are you asking? If you're hoping for this, who are you hoping is going to give it to you? See, I want really people to think about when they say that, like when you're saying, I hope this and I hope and I wish and I pray, well, you're praying to something or hoping to somebody. So you're believing, even though you're not saying it outwardly, you're believing internally there is something more. I don't know what it is. I can't see it. And that's and it's not that you're going to see it physically. When you get opened up to feeling it and just saying, yeah, I know you're there. I might not see you, but really need help with this here. You can just say it in your mind any single time, anywhere, right? So we want to believe the bad so much. My gosh, what if we just changed it and we just said, you know what? I want to believe in the goodness and that there is some greater that's watching over us, because every single person in this life, I don't care who you are, what you believe, has had an experience in their life where they've just said, geez, I got lucky, or, this could have been worse, or this could have happened. We have all said it and thought it.
Oh.
So, we all know and wonder. We just don't want to talk about it. And I just think even with the life after life and the near-death experiences, that's something for me, Jen, that I have been so driven with. And you know that I've been talking to you for like months about this and wanting to have people on, because I know even before my dad crossed over and went to heaven, he transitioned, I walked into the hospital room, and I've shared the story with you, but I want to share it with people too. And I told you I wanted to do this today because I don't always talk about my personal experiences, but I was very close with my father, and I'm close with my mother too. I was very blessed. I have my mother still here. But I walked into the hospital room really early one morning. He was in the hospital and I got in there at like 7:30 and I just wanted to sit and pray with him, bring these old rosary beads that were his father's that he loved. And I walked in the room and no help. I'm not kidding you. I walked into the room, Jen, and he's eating this green jello and I could see all the wires hanging off of him. And he's just he kind of eat this green jello, but stopping in between and looking and just kind of like nodding, and I walk in and I say, hey, good morning, Dad. And he's like, hi. I said, Dad, who are you talking to? And he says, Poppy, who was his father, right? And he says, and I says, really? I said, what's he doing? He says, he's just standing over there. He goes, he's got his suit on, his hair's all muffy, he's all duded up. Exact words. He goes, he's just standing there looking at me. And that was about 6 weeks before he went to heaven. And it was giving me glimpses, and I would walk in when he would be back at the house, because my mother was so good at taking care of him, hired someone to take care of him, to keep him home. And I would walk in the room in the morning, and he was in my old bedroom I grew up in, and he would just look and he'd say, I know. He'd be looking up at the sky, going at the ceiling, saying, I know. And I would just say, Dad, who are you talking to? He's just like, they're just watching me. So do you understand? I know they were having a conversation, probably saying, Ed, it's getting close, because he was holding on. But these are these experiences that when they show you glimpses of heaven, I used to help my mother, she was a nurse. I would help her do private duty. At 11 at night to 7 in the morning, so I didn't want her to go by herself. I was 18 years old, 17 years old. Most girls don't do that at that age. They're out with their friends, but I would sit with her, with these people before they were transitioning. And I didn't know that much about that kind of aspect of it, and I would sit there watching them reaching for the sky and saying, my husband's holding my hand, I want to go, and he's reaching for me. And as soon as the son flew in from out of town, that night when she got to see him, then she went home at 3 a.m. So it's just these experiences, Jen, that I want other people, like I can tell you about mine, but I want other people to know, Jen, that's why we do this, for they understand that they're having it too.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what it is.
It is. And sometimes, I can understand it's a private thing. And sometimes you don't want to share that, and that's okay. But if you do know somebody that would like to come on, talk about it, talk about their experiences. We are open to that. We want to have an open conversation because, as you said, people are going around and they use the verbiage, I hope, I hope. And I think, and you talk about this in the videos that we put up daily is, you change one thought and it can change your life because instead of saying, I hope, you say, I have this, I'm going to have this is coming to me. And, it's very similar, but it's different because it's more of a claim like, hey, I want this and this is coming to me. And, sometimes those wants and needs change. So, when somebody says, I, want $1 million, it's, you don't want, everybody wants $1 million,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's what you're wanting it for is for other
Yes.
things. So it's like a path to getting that. So it's not always a direct, like, here's a check, but it's about the path to get there. So I think people changing the way they think and knowing it's okay to talk about these things is going to make a big difference.
I really truly believe in my heart, like when you stay consistent with anything, consistency is key. I don't care if it's a diet, I don't care what it is. When you stay consistent, because what happens is we quit the moment things don't seem to work out for the day or for the week or for the month. We go, nope. I always just say that's where you got to trust the soul, because if the soul still says, because I'll do that with you. We do these videos, right? And I do them because, it's just what we do. And we want to put this out there, and you want to help people in their daily life. It's about, if you understand that this is what your path is, like when your head is saying go, 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 if your soul is just like saying stay, you have to listen to that inner voice. And it's not about always running, unless things, I'm not talking about extreme situations, but when you want something in life, whether it's a job, career, moving, visualize what it is that you want. Visualize yourself already living in that house, what it's going to be like to unpack all your things. Like close your eyes and imagine what it's going to be like to walk into your bedroom, walk in there every day after work, right? Or with someone, if you haven't met someone and you want to, imagine what it's like just holding their hand, or just going out to dinner with them or just going for a walk, whatever it is. Imagine that you already have that, because the mind brings things to us. We're going to use it either for good or to hurt ourselves when we get in that, that moment of flight where we just go, or fear, right? We have to decide when we get a mood of anxiety, are we going to feed into it? Or are we just going to say, just stop for a second, take a deep breath, clap your hands? That's a really big thing. People are going to think that's silly, but I'm telling you, if you get like anxiety or really nervous, when you just clap your hands like 10 times, what it does is it shocks you out of that immediate fear and emotion. And it makes you go, okay, I need to readjust here. And it changes everything in your life. I'm just such a big believer in changing thoughts. We're all going to have negative thoughts. I do. We get up and go, should I be doing this? Is it worth it? I don't know. Then you just go, stop. You have to talk to yourself. It's a continual conversation with yourself, because see, that's really your higher self and your divine self that you're talking to. And you're going, all right, guys, bring me back. And the moment people get that, and Jen, we love this when people reach out and tell us things like this, like, thank you for that. Like, it changed my life today. I wasn't afraid to go on that job interview. We get these messages. And that's what we're doing when they're figuring it out for themselves, that everything they have is within them. That's for me. I'm like, you and I both will say that when somebody's like, thank you. If one person says, I was able to go in for that interview today. I wasn't afraid to take that step anymore. I wasn't afraid to leave that person that was hurting me, because I know I can do it now. And you just go, that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we want. It's changing one life at a time and,
That's it.
hopefully many.
Yes, hopefully many. So this new season, we're looking forward to this. We want to start having more people on, like even the EMTs. And we talked about this too briefly. Gosh, these EMTs, I cannot give them enough love. I cannot give them enough love. Even the healthcare workers, today they're so busy and they're so overrun. And they can't always give in the hospitals the personal care anymore because it's just continuous. But boy, they get it done. Like what they need to do gets done. But these EMTs, they are the first ones that when you're scared, they're the first ones there. And I think people don't always recognize them. To me, they are like the greatest heroes. They're the ones that are going to keep you living, give you the peace and tell you it's okay until they get you to where you need to be. And I'm telling you, to everyone that does this is an EMT. God bless all of you, because I can hear them in the background talking to my mother saying, hey, you're going to be okay. Oh, look at you. You're looking pretty good. Like they have this way of just taking, everything
Yeah.
out. So, it's these everyday workers, Jen. They're the heroes. They're the ones that chose these careers because they were guided. Everybody in any aspect of any life, anytime you're in a situation, you can help someone or do anything or help yourself, right? You choose yourself. It's just an incredible thing. So this is kind of where we really want to gear this season. We want it to be, and even and you and I have been saying, if there's any ministers or priests or any
Yeah.
in the religious order, we would love to have you come on. We would love to have you talk about how, listen, these gifts of mysticism has been around since time began. They have. St. Patrick Pia is one of, you know, I mean, they've been around forever. And we'd love to have this conversation in a beautiful way to just talk about this, talk about different religions and how having a faith and having all of this can help you and see what their opinion is on this too. So if you're out there and this reaches any of you, you know, Jen is ready to
Reach
have you
out.
on and you anytime because I know you've been working really hard trying to do that. I know you have
Yeah.
behind the scenes. And so, you know, this is just where we want to go. It's about everyone. It's about trusting yourself more. The internet is great when it's teaching you to help yourself, but not when it's trying to make you believe what they're saying.
Absolutely.
And that's what you and I talk about. We want you to trust in your own self and not, you know, I mean, with all the influencing today, you know, I mean, not influencing is one thing. You know, we want to bring people back to their own self.
Yeah, I agree.
So I look forward to the season, Jen. I'm
Same.
looking forward to this, and it's really good to see you and to get back to this. We needed a
Yes.
month off, you know,
Yeah.
we needed to have the break. So, you know, I mean, I thank you for everything. And also too, we've hit now over 350,000 views on YouTube. So that's, I know, thank you to everybody. That's 350,000 souls.
Yeah.
You understand that
That's
this is
amazing.
touching and it's helping them in some sort of a way. That's a big deal because we're doing it organically, you know, so
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
that's
So Jen,
important.
I look forward to it and be back at it. And then, you know what I mean? Like I said, anybody that wants to reach out that has a story to share, your story matters.
It does. It does.
Jen,
Yeah.
listen, have a great week.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.